What's going on, everybody? This is Tyler Weeb from ProPhysique, and in today's video we're going to talk about how low should your calories go. Alright, welcome back everybody. Hope you are all having a fantastic Wednesday in this beautiful summer week. Before we get started, I just want to say make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button just so you're not missing out on any future content. And if you would like to see any topics discussed in future videos, go ahead, go to my Instagram and shoot me a DM and I'll make sure to get those into future videos. But today, wanted to talk about how low can your calories go or should go during a diet or a prep phase. So again, I think these are two different things because we have two different mindsets when we are going into both. Now, there are certain ratios that we do need to make sure that we are keeping in mind as we go through both of them. So it's not like we can just go crazy, slash them down to the wire and without consequences, right? So there are consequences for the lower that we go, the higher the consequences. And so let's break each one down, and let's start off with just a general population, a lifestyle client who's wanting to drop some body fat. Let's say we have gone through a reverse phase, we've built calories up, and now we are ready to start a diet. Whatever that may be, 15 weeks, 20 weeks, sometimes the body kind of tells us how far we're going to go. And so the biggest question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is sustainable for this person? So that's going to be individualistic to each and every person who goes through a dieting phase. What's going to be the most sustainable and what's going to allow them to be the most successful? For how low can we go with that person? And a lot of the times, once we start reaching a certain point, and for the most part, I find this to be with the majority of people. There are some people that kind of stop when it's a bit higher, but I start when we get into the 150 grams of carbs, 140 grams of carbs, right in that range. There is when we start to see most of, lifestyle clients. It's probably just going to get too low for them because at that point you are really starting to see a decrease in a lot of the foods that you kind of maybe want to enjoy, and it starts to really become unsustainable for the person who's just wanting to drop 15, 20, 30 pounds, whatever that might be. And so that's when I kind of start talking to the person. I start looking for examples or signs is a better word that this diet is coming to an end. Is this person hitting their macros? What is their energy like? What is their hunger like? Are they going overboard? How much cardio are we doing? So those are a lot of things that we want to consider as we are getting lower calories with a lifestyle client. And a lot of the times I'll really ask for that feedback of how are you feeling? How's your hunger? Are you done? Be direct about it. Ask them hey, are you done? Or ask yourself if you're going through a dieting phase and your calories are starting to get low. Are you starting to maybe slip up? Are you starting to eat a little bit more than you actually should be? Some bites here or there that are untracked. What's your training like? Is it suffering a lot? If you're finding that these things are starting to happen, then it's probably time to start going, okay, it's probably time to get back into a reverse. And so those are the type of things that you want to look for. So it is individualistic, but I do find that, once you start getting around that 1200, that 1300 calorie range, most people are really going to start to kind of suffer a little bit. And for lifestyle, that's not what we're going for, right? We're not stepping on stage. We want to be the most successful that we can without really, binging or having that yo-yo dieting effect. And so we really need to make sure that we are paying attention to how that person is feeling as the calories get a little bit lower and as the cardio gets a little bit higher. They may have never been through something like this before, although experience will show that most people have tried some extreme dieting at some point. But we do want to make sure that we are keeping the client's overall health in mind as well. And so there are also certain ratios that I just won't go below for a lifestyle client. So typically, let's say fats is probably the biggest one. Between 40 and 45 grams of fat is something that, for the most part, I'm never really going to go below with people, because once we start getting under that 40, 45 grams, or let's say 20% of total calories, you do kind of start to invoke some health consequences with fat that low. Fat is a very important to hormone function in the human body. And so we do want to make sure that we're not going quite below that chronically, right? That's going to be also a very important part as we talk about people who are in prep. But for most part, lifestyle clients, we're not going to really get below, that 45 grams of fat ever. There's just no point for that lifestyle client unless they are really wanting to push. Then we'll have a discussion about that. But even then, I will look at other avenues to make sure that we can maybe push the body fat in terms of maybe cardio. Protein, we always want to make sure that we're hovering around that 1.0 grams per pound throughout the whole diet. So that's why I always like to try and get my clients up to about 1.2 grams per pound, because that at some point may give us some wiggle room down the road where, okay, carbs and fats, we just really don't want to drop really right now. So let's drop protein a little bit. And so that does give us a little bit of room to drop and maybe squeeze out a few more pounds. And so really want to make sure that we're monitoring how our lifestyle clients are feeling and how they are doing with the diet if we're starting to get a little bit lower, and making sure that we are pulling them out before we really get to a point where the untracked food is starting to come into play, and maybe some binge episodes are coming into play. So that's something that you really do want to watch. So how low can they go? Well, it is going to be very individualistic, but for me personally, and this is just an opinion, I would really never feel comfortable going below 12 to 1300 calories for the majority of lifestyle clients. So that's lifestyle. Now prep is going to be a little bit different because we have set out with a goal of getting to a different type of leanness than someone who is just going through, again, a lifestyle change. To step on stage, you need to be a different kind of leanness. I tell a lot of people, being lean off stage and being lean on stage are completely different types of being lean. Some people, I'll tell them, this is kind of where I would project you as we want to step on stage. And a lot of times if someone who's maybe never gone through it or think they're lean go, whoa, that was more than I thought. And it's, again, with the risk of repeating myself, different type of leanness. And so with the prep client, and again, it is going to be individualistic. Some can be pushed or want to be pushed a little bit more than others, but it gets to a certain point where, okay, we need to do what we just have to do to get you there. And sometimes that might just be pushing those carbs under 100 grams or pushing those fats under 45 and bringing that protein down if we have a high enough protein as we get started, right? Because the ratio is going to change as the body fat gets lower. So that as the person drops weight, the ratio of protein gets higher, right? So we might be at 1.4, 1.5, and we can have some room to really bring that down. But again, we also want to make sure that we are monitoring that person's health, hunger, and energy. Now, those three things, they are going to be put in a more detrimental position in prep. That is just the reality of prep, right? You are going to be tired. You are going to be really hungry. And at some point, it is going to become a bit unhealthy. But that's something that we all accept as we go into a prep. And I will make sure that I have those conversations with those people as we get deeper into prep. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. To make these change or to get to where you want to go, we might have to do this. And I go, are you okay with that? Because again, everyone is going to be a little bit different, but there's no reason to see maybe 1,000 calories, 1,100 calories a day. To get under 1,000 calories, I think there are better ways of getting lean. You could do more cardio, because once you start getting under that 1,000 calories, again, just an opinion, I think that it's just not going to be beneficial to that person, right? Your training is going to suffer, your cardio is going to suffer, and it's just going to raise the risk of having an episode of maybe going off plan and just maybe derailing the prep a little bit. And so we need to make sure that we're constantly monitoring how that person is feeling, how that person is doing, and that they understand the depth that we're going to go to with pushing their calories. So these can be completely two different things, although you are looking at kind of the same aspects of that person. How are they doing? How far can they be pushed? But again, for the most part, with a prep client, you shouldn't really, hopefully, have to get under 1,000 calories. At that point, I would look at more pushing your cardio a bit more to get the changes that you might need. But hopefully you've had a good enough off season. Your metabolism isn't going to fuck you over too much. And that we don't really have to get to that point of that low of calories. But again, some clients, you know what, we just need to do this. And are you okay with doing that? They say yes. All right, let's do it, because then they've made that choice. And if they've made that choice, it's going to be a lot easier for them to stick with it, because they'll go, you know what? This was my choice. I didn't have to be pushed this hard, but I made the choice to be pushed. And so then I can stick to this a lot better because I made that choice. So lifestyle clients, 1,200 to 1,300 calories, again, individualistic, but roughly I see, just from my experience, that's typically where we really start to see some of those issues crop up, and just really not necessary to really go that much lower, because it's such a different lifestyle, right? Whereas with a prep client, right, they are in it for the long haul. They are there to step on stage, win, depending on where they're at in their journey with prep and the physique world, and just do well, right? You need to bring a certain look. And so sometimes you just have to go to different areas than you would with a lifestyle client to get that look with the prep client. All right, guys, that is going to be everything for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, make sure to hit that subscribe button and have a great rest of your day.